It is episode number 14 of the Chris Rose rotation on John Boy Media. I want to welcome Trevor May of the New York Mets back. I want to say I've got a little extra gear with me today. Hope you're...
I'm ready. Let's talk about it. I'm ready. I believe that's the exact model too, which is hilarious.
If people are using this audio only, I am wearing an elbow guard today. It's my son's. I need to get back to him because he's got baseball practice coming up. Were you worried that we were going to bring this up since we are taping the day after the home opener, the controversial home opener?
I knew. You know what? I knew it was going to happen. Sometimes you just got to deal with your stuff, man. It is what it is. But we got a W, so.
I know. But you also, would you have been okay if they had gotten together, the umpires, like they did, and if somebody went to Ron Kulpa, who admitted afterward he blew the call, if somebody had said, hey, Ron, was that a strike? And he would have said yes. He said, did it look like maybe Conforto was sticking his elbow out a little bit? And he would have said, well, maybe. Well, it should have been a strikeout. Let's continue on with the inning. Do you think everybody in the ballpark would have been like, yeah?
Yeah, there would have been a lot of moaning and groaning, but I think that long term, everybody, yeah. And it's one of those things, man. It would have been second out. The inning wouldn't even been over, right? We would have had Pete coming up. You guys could have won. So, if there's not a guy in the world that lives for the big moment, it's Pete Alonso. I'm going to be honest. That guy cannot wait to come up in that situation. So, I have faith that it would have been over the next batter anyways. But again, we'll never know, right?
Yeah, maybe it just gets to the bigger issue of replay, and we can't get into judgment calls and stuff. Like, do you think we ought to be getting into judgment calls? Because they could only review whether or not Conforto got hit, not whether or not he intentionally stuck his elbow out.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a weird one. And I don't really know what the precedent is. There has to be a precedent for that rule to exist like that in the past. But I get it, man. Things happen quick. Go back and look at it. It did technically hit him. So within the confines of that rule, technically it's hit a batter. But again, it does show that the rules aren't perfect, very obviously, and that a lot of times, honestly, if it was defaulted to, if the umpire crew like decided like that it was going to be a judgment call at that point and their hands weren't tied, I don't think anyone, there would have been like some, oh, you can't do that, but it would have been like, you're probably right. So, everyone kind of knew that it was iffy at the time, but at the same time, like I know Michael a little bit more now, and I know that like he's up there. He's not a guy who's like too ego, like needing to be the guy who like hits the homer or whatever. He's just like, anything I need to do to get, you just got those guys, and he's one of those guys. So and I know that's just kind of what he defaulted to. He's like, oh, that's kind of up and in, and maybe didn't see there was a breaking ball immediately, and just and then it looked the way it looked.
By the way, if you had been on the mound though, and guys,
I'd be furious. I can't imagine. No, okay. I can't imagine. That was you're just a tough inning, top to bottom. And as a reliever, even when we're playing against, you can't help because everyone's just had that like sinking the feeling, right? As a guy, a back end guy. So I've been in his, maybe not exactly in those shoes, but I can only imagine like how helpless it would feel. It would make me very mad. Yes.
Yes. So this was all part of the culmination of an amazing week for you, where you're all fired up to play opening day against the Nationals, and then that series gets postponed because of COVID issues. Then you finally get to play in Philadelphia, the team that drafted you, and here you are, the prize free agent signing of the Mets, and it doesn't exactly go your way. How long does a poor performance like that stay with you? Were you up until 2 or 3 in the morning going over stuff? Or are you able to wash it away?
I'm not gonna lie and say I can wash stuff away. I'm just too front facing and accessible anyways. So people who are naysaying, they can get to me a little bit faster than they can get to other people more effectively. But it's one of those things, man. It's the last thing you think about when you go to bed, first thing you think about when you get in the morning, and it's always going to be like that. That's not going to go away. I've been around now for, this is my 14th professional season. That's never changed. But I've gotten pretty good at grabbing something actionable out of the stuff and taking it to the field the next day, so that I know that whatever I learned from the night before, I'm acting on. And that's important to me. And so I got a little one-dimensional that first night, and that's I was like, I threw like 19 fastballs out of 22 pitches. Like, I'm like, that's not what. Maybe I just got a little bit. Game one, got to go good. We're in Philly. They're playing well. They were undefeated or whatever at the time. Like they're all hopped up Philly fans or Philly fans. So it was like, atmosphere wise, it's like, if you're successful here, you can be successful anywhere. So that's why I was just trying to enter the next night. And again, it got a little hairy the next night, but I decided in my mind, I'm like, I'm not going to allow what happened to happen again. This is in my control. I'm going to control everything I can. I'm going to notice in the middle of this, what is happening right now is like a broken base hit that I probably should have fielded, and it got under my glove. And then another one was like a 95 hopper through the right, good piece of hitting, but it wasn't hit hard. It wasn't like I was missing spots and getting lit up. I was just fairly unlucky. A Major League Baseball player hitter who has lots of experience is just doing their job a little bit better than me. So I had to find a way out. That's the way it is.
You're a guy that's so accessible. You mentioned that, and active on social media. Did you check Twitter, for example?
My Twitter crashed. It wouldn't even refresh anymore. There was so much. And just
I'm
know
not
that
laughing at you, by the way. I'm not laughing at you.
You know what? It got to the point where, it was so much though that you couldn't pick any one thing out. So it was just like every negative thing anyone wanted to think about me was being put into words and yelled at me. And to be honest, I fully expected it. I've gotten it top right and center. I've gotten it all the time. And it's one of those things, like, maybe if you weren't doing this thing that you enjoy doing out the field, or maybe if you weren't doing this thing. And then there's people who genuinely think they need to give you advice, like, stop overthrowing, like, as if I don't know all this. I had one guy try to convince me that me struggling there was harder on him than it is on me. And he would not let it go. Like, would not. Oh, but I've been a Mets fan longer than you've been alive, and blah blah blah. Like, I was like, yeah, but you don't have you talking to you right now, do you? So it's some of the, like, what are you supposed to do with that? You just go, you're right, and then you just move on, right? So, but you got to go out and say, and this is the way I'm going to handle it every time. It's not the first runs I've given up. It's not going to be the last time I give up runs in a big spot. In a situation, I'm going to be as prepared as I can. And I'm going to give every single ounce of stuff I have on every given night. I'm never going to not be prepared. And when it comes down to it, it's going to be job done, box checked or not checked. And that's how I determine results. It's not about going out and punching out the side. It's not about going out and doing well, but also being dominant at the same time. It's about, my job today is to do X, Y, and Z. And if I go out and do X, Y, and Z, whether that's us down by a run, or if that's tie game, or if that's up by a run, if we're up by 2 and I give up a solo shot, but we still have that lead, the job wasn't done as cleanly as I wanted it to be done, but it was still done. Like, though, that's the way I approach it.
I have to admit to you, when I watch Indians games, and I'm a diehard Tribe fan, I am motherfucking players, like, left and right.
Yeah, and I get it. I get
right,
it.
Just because I'm a fan, right? I'm just going nuts.
It's passion.
I get it. Right. It's a passion. I love them. When I watch you pitch, when I watch Archie Bradley pitch, or Miguel Rojas get in the batter's box, or Glass now, or Giolito start a game, I am nervous like I am at my kids' games. It is, and I don't know if this is something that I need to work on. Like, can you give me advice on how to handle this? Like,
nope.
I want you
it's
guys to
go
know.
Away. No, you're just we're your kids now. You're just you want us all to be successful, and you're gonna be all conflicted like yesterday when I faced Miggy, and I'm gonna face Miggy probably a bunch of times this year. So you might want to lock that in. Actually, Archie and I might be pitching in the same inning, and you want both of us to do well, but someone's got to win the game, right? So things like that, it's gonna happen. And
did you think about that, by the way? When Miggy got in the batter's box, just for a second?
I was like, oh.
You did?
Another co-host. Yeah, I thought about it. Just the way I told you before, I thought about when the ending of the game happened. I'm like, I'm going to have to talk about that on the pod tomorrow. All right. Like, that's how my brain works. It's super funny. I'm going to be honest, and I can't lie. I think that people would think this is cool sometimes. Every once in a while, I'll hear some sort of cackling or chirping that's hilarious, and I hold on to it. And like it's something that I will use later as a joke, like on teammates, like that I steal from fans because it's actually funny. Or I'll just think of things that are like content. For example, I gave up that solo shot in my first outing in spring, but it like wind blown. It just blew forever and just like barely got out. And I had that like look on my face. I knew I made that look. I knew it was on camera. I'm like, that's going to be that's going to be a funny clip. I'm going to use that. Before I even got in, I went in, checked Twitter immediately. Someone already had a screenshot and they were turning it into memes immediately. So I was like, they're thinking the same way I am. I love this. And I had a fan the other night doing a meme with an old picture from Instagram of me it looked like I was in a cucumber outfit. And there was something about being chill. But it was like making fun of me. And I was like, yo, I'm like, great meme, but I'm actually a pickle. That guy went back, opened it up, changed it to something cool as a dill or something, changed it to be a pickle. And I was like, at that point, I was just like, that's, I know you're making fun of me, but this is hilarious. You actually went back and took the time to change the meme, which is so funny to me. That type of stuff I love. You can make fun of me all day. That's the type of reactions or interactions we're having. Love it.
That's good. Did you and Archie Bradley lock eyes out there in the bullpen?
I gave him one of these. That bullpen, man. I know that Philly started up the top, and then they switched them down to the lower bullpen, and they are so lucky because it is absolute mayhem up there. And it's weird because you're like in their bullpen. Like when you're first going up, you're like in there. You're like in the group with them. You're like, hey guys, like, so you kind of want to get by pretty fast. Yeah, I saw Kinsler too, and I played with him and said what's up. But when you get up there, it's just like there's just nothing. That's one of the most there in Cleveland. Those are the two, like you're definitely you're like a display, like at the zoo, like looking down in the bear pit. We are in the bear pit, and everyone's just looking down at you, like, look and dance for me. And you're like, nah, there's nowhere to hide. So yeah, Philly's another beast when it comes to that for sure.
So did they yell anything at you that was good? Made you laugh or chuckle?
Nah, there was no chuckling. There was some borderline angry stuff. I heard a couple stuff. I'm like, I'm gonna say one more thing. But yeah, it's a lot of reading your Wikipedia. Like I'm streaming. I'm doing goofy YouTube videos. If you want to go after me, man, there's just DJ Hayby. Come on. I have so many things you can bring up. So honestly, it's working out because there's so much that there's no like one little embarrassing thing. I have like 100. So they're like, they can't focus on anything. And the punch isn't there. So it's kind of funny just they're listing stuff, but yeah, I've heard some stuff up there, man. There was not repeatable things. Some people just they think it's their duty to go in, get in your head and make you truly angry, but it's not their duty
because they feel like if they say something to you on opening day and then you end up not doing well, they get to tell all their boys, hey, I helped the Phillies win today, and I'm going to tell you how, right?
Exactly.
Like, come on.
And I'm going to be honest, though. I also understand. I get it. I get that. I get feeling like you're part of it, man. Fans want to be more and more involved. They want more access. I mean, think about everything I say. It makes sense. The mindset. I don't understand. You don't need to go about it that way, right? There's better ways to go about it. Maybe nicer human ways, but I get the need. I get it.
Yeah. I will tell you this one anecdote. My family used to have season tickets to the Cleveland Cavaliers game when I was growing up, and we were about 18 rows up. And I remember we were playing the Pistons, whom we hated. They were really good, obviously, in the late 80s. And I remember shouting at the top of my lungs at age 17, mind you, Lane Bear, you are such a fucking pussy. Screamed it at the top of my lungs. All these people turned around and looked at me. And I took a friend to the game. And my buddy looked at me and was like, what are you doing? You are an idiot. Do you think that is going to make Bill Laimbeer play any worse? Like, is he going to stop, look up and be like, hey, Chris, you know what? You're right. I will change the way I play the game because of what you said. and I've never yelled at a player since then.
Exactly. That's a good lesson for everyone to learn. There's a really good exercise that I try to get younger guys to go. I go, if you are getting lit up by a person, the guy won't stop yelling at you. Like, it's been 5 minutes, they're continuing going. You haven't acknowledged them. Then you acknowledge them, like look at them and see if they see their eyes light up, and then see where they go. Let them go. And then what you do is you offer them a ball. And what you see is this Christmas morning eyes light up. Like, in reality, all they wanted was the ball the whole time. You go, whoa, your eyes really lit up there, man. You really want a ball, don't you? I'm like, and guess what? I can either give it to you or I can not give it to you. So whose holds the power? It's a like, you, because I've seen it 100 times, the most vitriolic, horrible stuff. And you're like, hey, you want a ball? He's like, yeah, like immediately. So at the end of the day, but that also makes it human. Like they obviously don't truly mean, I mean, some people do, but like most people are just like, they're really just trying to get a reaction. So,
right.
And that makes it a little bit. And then a lot of times you throw them the ball and, you act like you're not going to give it and see if they get angry, and then you give it to them. And then any kids around, they're like, oh, that's how I get a ball. And then it's just mayhem after that. But I've seen that done a couple of times where guys are like, just let him take it, and then give him the ball and just watch the eyes kind of like their mask got dropped, and you're like, I knew you wanted it, gotcha. It was pretty funny every time.
Bill Laimbeer, if you're listening, I'm sorry. After all these years,
you had a great career.
33 years later, did have a great career.
You did have a great career.
We've got Trevor May's former teammate up there in the Twin Cities, Jake Odorizzi, coming your way after this. Hey, you've heard me talk about Win Reality before. I'm telling you, it's the real deal to improve your plate discipline and your swing and the way you're seeing the ball. You might have read the columns at MLB.com and The Athletic, seen the quotes from the Polar Bear, Pete Alonso, and Goldie and Yaz talking about how it's helped them. The cool thing here with Win Reality and virtual reality is you can see 100 pitches in 15 minutes, and they give you real-time feedback. The thing I really love is that you can improve in situational hitting. Like different counts, you're going to see different pitches. So today I want to work on being behind in the count, seeing 0-2 pitches. Do I want to see fastballs? Do I want to see off-speed pitch? Listen, it's up to you. Get off the couch, improve your game. And I am here to help you, courtesy of Win Reality. You use the code ROSE, and believe it or not, you are going to train for free the first month. Once again, use the code ROSE at winreality.com, and off you go. You're going to love it. Don't take my word for it. Type in winreality.com. Go do some work.
We will be right back to the Chris Rose rotation after this. DraftKings, guys, they're giving away free money. The basketball season, 1 month left. Wow. It's going to be playoff season too, and DraftKings is hooking you guys up before then. Hey, bet on a team you think's going to win. Any team. Guess what? If they make one 3-point shot, one 3-pointer, you bet $1 and you win 100. It's not a joke. A $1 bet on any NBA team, if that team hits a 3, which they're gonna, you win $100. This is only at DraftKings Sportsbook. This is nuts, man. If you're thinking about getting into it, this is the easiest way. You're going to get $100 on your first bet. $1. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code ROSE when you sign up. Turn $1 into $100 in free bets if the basketball team of your choosing hits a 3. That's code ROSE to turn $1 into $100 only at DraftKings Sportsbook. You must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or PA only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Let's get back.
We continue on with Chris Rose rotation here on John Boy Media, and boy, I feel like I'm breaking up this wonderful relationship. I'm caught in the middle of Jake Odorizzi and Trevor May, who used to be locker mates up there in Minnesota, and now Jake is a new member of the Houston Astros. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good, Rosie. How about you?
Doing great, dude. I feel like I should throw on a hat backward just to fit into the group. Hold on. I don't even know what hat I've got nearby. I have no idea, but here we go. How's this look? We good now?
An Indian hat, isn't it?
No, let me see. Oh, it's a St. Louis Cardinals. It was just sitting off to the side. I've got all 30 major league clubs represented. Sense. Yeah. Okay. So, Jake, this was your locker mate, right? Up there in Minnesota?
It was, yeah. I've seen him change a time or two. So that's kind of the territory you get to when you're locker mates,
Trevor?
Yeah, I've also seen him change. Yeah.
What do you got on him? What do you got on our boy Jake Odorizzi?
Jake's pretty good, dude. It's pretty laid back. Just taking it one day at a time, man. He was always a great sounding board when I would complain about stuff. That's a big thing for me in teams. I think last year maybe Odo and Avila. You guys were my great. Just let me. I got some stuff to complain about. They were just like, hit me with it, and let me. So I appreciate that. That's a good teammate right there.
What would he complain about, Jake?
We usually would just baseball stuff. So outings and just, maybe you got squeezed on this pitch. Maybe something didn't happen like you wanted it to behind you. Whatever it may be, just the typical BS. The same thing I'd bitch about and all that good stuff too. So you gotta be a good listener and you gotta help out teammates when it comes to it. So, I listen. Sometimes I need to let it rip for a little while. You're good. You got to move on. You can't just sit and bottle it up for a while. So the longer you hold on to it, the more pissed you end up getting. So you gotta find a good guy that can actually understand it too. Like, yeah, me and Trevor probably been through pretty much the exact same stuff as each other. So you know where you're coming from. You can't just like pick somebody who's got like 5 days in the business. Like, man, I don't really care what you're having problems. I'm just happy to be here. Like, you gotta find the right people.
Yeah. We've gone through the same stuff.
Are there guys, though, on the team who are just constantly, because it happens in TV and media. I've been in this business for almost 30 years. There are certain people who are just perpetually unhappy, even though they've reached the pinnacle of their profession. Trevor, are there guys in every clubhouse where you're like, can you shut the fuck up? It's not that bad.
Yeah, I'm one of them. No, it's always the bullpen. It's always the bullpen. It's like, it's rite of passage, man. We have to complain about conditions. We got to complain about like how many times the phones rang during a game. We got to complain about how quickly, the pitching coach like gets who they want to warm up out there. Like, shout out to Wes Johnson, but like, my God, he would have a 10-minute conversation explaining exactly like what the plan was in this. And when Hefner was here, he just nod and nod and nod and nod and nod. We're just like, who is warming up? So those are the things that every little nitpicky thing, from we're all critiquing which bullpens are terrible and whether or not there's snacks. If the big thing for us last year was the Red Bulls were all expired, so it was like drinking water. So it's like anything that's not considered the show or big leagues, we pointed out immediately, and it's always bullpen guys. Actually, a guy I came up with was the saltiest guy I played with was Kevin Jepson. He was the dude who he could every little thing, hotels, the bus, like bus. He gets on, he's like, "There's a scratchy bus. This isn't a show bus." It was just always so like that's how I learned to be a bullpen guy, because that's when I first got moved out there. So love Jeppy, but he could complain with the best of them.
Jake, is there a dude that you had on a team who just wouldn't shut up?
I feel like I'm missing somebody, but yeah, I mean, I can't think of one off the top of my head. Maybe that just means I had a lot of them or I had very few of them. I don't know. It's probably the first one, but I feel like that game, it's almost like a game. Like you listen to one person kind of just bitch and be miserable, and you want to like, okay, now what can I say that can top that story? You got to go back and forth and try to go, who's had it tougher, who had the tougher upbringing, who had the, who had the everything stacked against them and they still came out ahead, that sort of stuff. So I feel like that's a lot of it too. Is like, oh, well, you didn't have it as bad as I had it. Like, oh, back in the day, that type of thing.
You ever played in this place? Like that's a big one. Talking about stadiums in like short season or low A. It's like, oh yeah, but have you ever played here?
Yeah, you ever been in the Pioneer? You ever been in the Pioneer League? Yeah. Been there.
Yeah. But Jake, you are from the Midwest. So let's listen to little Jake Odorizzi back in the day, right before he got drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers.
As I was a little kid, I just dreamed about playing pro baseball, and now maybe tomorrow I'll finally have the opportunity to, and I'll obtain my goal since I was a little kid. And I don't even know what I'll do come draft day if I hear my name get called.
It was so cute.
Nice soft voice. That's a nice soft voice too. I wish I still had. I could act like I'm a couple years younger, but gosh, what a young stud.
So how did it go? Well, like back then, it wasn't on TV. I think this was the year before or 2 years before MLB Network started broadcasting the first round. So
yeah,
how
so
did this
it was
all
on
go down?
it was on ESPN back then, and it was funny because we were still in our state tournament. So like the state tournament was the day after the draft. So it was like we were all in a hotel near Chicago, like my high school team and I, and it was like 1,000,000 degrees. AC was broken and sitting there. And back then, I think the rounds were like super long too. They were like 10 minutes a pick or 5 minutes a pick. I forget what it was. It was a lot longer back then than what it was now. So it took like 3 hours to get past the first round. And then I was like, all right, I was disappointed because I didn't go like first round. So I was like, oh, this stinks. And then, just that pride, that young, like, oh, this matters to me, when in reality, it doesn't matter whatsoever. But yeah, it was just sweating it out. Finally happened. And then we had to play our state tournament right after that. So the next day and the day after, and it was like, that was kind of all the buzz around there. Like, I was the person who just got drafted, and people were looking at me like, this is the guy? Like, this is a nobody. Like, this guy looks like he just fits in with the regular high school crowd. So, but yeah, that's how it went back then. So, a long time ago for us now, Trev. Long time ago.
Yeah.
Trev, you were drafted the same year.
Yeah.
Phillies guy.
Phillies guy. I was, but I went all the way in the fourth. And I had a couple of times where I got calls from teams that said, we're taking you with our next pick, and then they didn't. It happened actually twice.
Who did that?
In the third? Phillies and Cubs. Cubs did it, and then Phillies were like, hey, if the Cubs don't take you, they're like, has anyone called you? We're like, yeah, the Cubs. They're like, all right, the Cubs, because Cubs had the pick, 2 picks before them. Cubs don't take you, we'll take you. And third round pass, both of them went by, and they both chose different people. I was like, am I getting drafted at all now? Like, what happens now? And then Cubs called again and said the same thing for the fourth. They're like, hey, if you're still there. And they took, I'll never forget, Caesar, Matt Serta, third baseman, fourth round. And then I got chose two picks later, last pick of the fourth round by the Phillies. I was the seventh guy picked by the Phillies that year, though. So the other 6 guys showed up with the other 6 guys that got picked before me, and I'm like, man, we got a lot of guys this year. Made a lot of trades.
Isn't it funny you remember that type of stuff? I have the same type of thing. Like 2 teams I thought I was going to go to, and I know the 2 picks that they took instead of me, but the same exact thing. Isn't it funny? Like, that's what we remember out of that day. It's like, these are the 2 teams, and these are the 2 players they took ahead of us.
This is the guy they thought very specifically they wanted more than me. Then it was close, obviously, because they told you, like, hey, if you're there, and it was a hard decision. They chose the other guy.
Yep,
it's very interesting.
Chris, one of mine was your team. One was the Indians, and then the other was the Rockies.
You're kidding me.
Lonnie Chisenhall and Christian Friedrich. Those are the 2 guys. Those are the 2 guys that got picked. Yep. Instead of, it was between me and them both times, and they picked those guys. But yeah, Lonnie Chisenhall was the Indians pick, and it was either me or him. So
the weird thing with mine is one of the guys was on the Phillies were the other team, and they ended up taking me. So they were actually like, we're going to take you. So I know for a fact they liked him more than me. So I showed up, and that guy, Jonathan Pettibone, was who it was, and he's from Cali. And I was like, I'm like, who's this guy? I throw way harder than him. Like, that's how we're all 18. I'm like, I'm taller, and he's actually taller than me. But I outweighed him. So you just compare yourself immediately. Day one, showed up on the same day. It's hilarious. It's so funny.
So Jake,
hindsight,
when you faced Lonnie Chisenhall, did you remember that in your brain when he stepped in the batter's box? You're like, that's the guy they took instead of me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I won't forget it. I have nothing against him, played against him. Obviously, we're in the same division for a little while there, so we got to see each other. But yeah, those are the kind of things that stick around with you. I told Falvey that when we were in Minnesota together. I was like, hey, remember you guys drafted this guy over me when you were in Cleveland? And he was funny. Like, he brought it up too. He's like, I remember that draft very, very firmly. He's like, there was a pick that threw everything off, and everybody scrambled from that point on.
Yeah,
It's interesting
that's how
stuff.
it works.
Yep.
So then you get drafted by Milwaukee, and less than 2 years later, basically, they ship you out of town in the Zack Greinke deal.
Yep.
When you get that call and you're a former first rounder and a bonus baby and you're the future of our team, and all of a sudden they pick up the phone and they're like, Jake, by the way, have you ever heard of Kansas City? Because you're going there. How'd this go down?
It wasn't even that delicate. I found out on TV. It was like an early morning trade, and it was like my phone was ringing. I didn't answer it, and then I had a bunch of missed calls. I'm like, all right, I'll flip on the TV. This seems like something's going on. I think it was around winter meetings time, December. And sure enough, first thing was Greinke with a Brewers logo on them, and I was like, all right, I think I can put the pieces together of why I'm getting calls this early in the morning. So, and then finally started returning them. Like, oh yeah, you're gone. I'm like, all right, cool. We'll see you later. Like, good to know everybody. I was there for 2 years, and I was the only minor league guy in the deal. So it was like almost getting redrafted again, to be honest. Like, it was like, all right, you're the only minor leaguer going to Kansas City in this deal. So you're not with the people that you got traded with. So here you go, fresh start. And then, lo and behold, 2 years there, and then I was shipped out again. So just like pit stop there and move on.
Do you doubt yourself at all when you're getting, I mean, here you are, you're a prize first rounder, and you've been traded twice really before you're sniffing the bigs.
Yeah, the first one was a lot tougher because, like, as you're drafted, you think like you're going to be with that one team, and they're like, oh, they really value they spent this pick on you, blah blah blah. You're like, all right, I'm going to make my debut with this team. It's going to be one of those storybook situations. Maybe that's just the naiveness of like being a young guy and you're drafted, and you're like, all right, this is what's going to be my team for the next X amount of years, and then the business side of it hits you like, all right, you're not really. You're important, but if there's something that can make their big league team better, they're going to do it. And, it kind of hurt me a little bit at the time because, like, well, do they just not believe in me? Are they giving up on me? And then, you get those calls like, oh, no, this isn't about us not liking you. It's about, we wanted to, we believe we're close to winning at the big league level. And this is what it took to do that. So that's what we were prepared to do. And, then the second time, Kansas City was a little bit different just because I was there so quickly, and it wasn't like I've already been through it once, so it was a little bit easier to move on. And then they won a World Series like 2 years later, and it's like, well, I guess I somehow had a hand in that. They traded me for the people that helped them out, so I guess I can take a little onus in that. But yeah, it's weird. Like, getting traded is just a very weird situation. Like the younger, the worse. Plus, I got traded in the offseason where you couldn't even really say goodbye to people. You come up in the first 2 years with like in pro ball, and you're learning the ropes with these people, and then all of a sudden you're gone, and it's like, well, I didn't even get to say goodbye to my friends. And now years down the road, like it's just weird to look back on, and not knowing what I know now. Back then, it was like, okay, it all worked out for the better, as I look back on it. But at the time, it was pretty devastating because like, all right, now I'm gonna start back from square one and do this all over again, which it kind of sucked the first year. So hopefully it doesn't suck as much the second time.
Trev, you got traded for a great guy in Ben Revere, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Not exactly Henry Aaron when it came to hitting home runs.
Nope.
I don't think he had any at the time of the trade.
He didn't. I believe he got one. He got one like that year in Philly, his first one.
He did.
And then, but I don't know if he got a full year in 19. He probably would have hit like 20. But yeah, Ben for and I didn't know a lot about Ben at the time, but and for the Vanimal, Ben Swirly with me. So I was just kind of the guy. I was just kind of the other guy in that trade at the time because Vance came off a really good year and he was like kind of a little bit of a breakout. He was he earned himself a name in Philly, literally a nickname. So he was kind of high expectations going, and I don't think he enjoyed being in Minnesota that much. I'm not going to speak for him, but it wasn't the most happiest experience for him. If having conversations with him since then have proven that. But yeah, it was again kind of bittersweet. It's one of those weird things where you're like, dang, like I thought this is where I was going to go. I was like pitcher of the year for the Phillies in 2011 and got to go up and get my award on the field and in Philly and meet everybody. And it's funny, I just was there playing against them and saw the wayside clubbies, and they're all the same guys, which was really cool. So I finally got to be like, I'm here, like I'm in your division now. Like I made it here eventually.
Did Zack Greinke even remember that you were traded for him when you said hi?
Yeah, so I told this story to the media after I had signed. Zack, actually, I met Zack before, I was an Astro, but we had the same agency. And he sat in on my arbitration case with the Rays. And my second one, I hadn't met him at the time, never met him before, but he wanted to know what the process was. I guess he didn't get to go through it when he was a player, and he wanted to go through it and see what it was about. So he sat in on my case against my second time against the Rays, and James Click, who's our GM here, was sitting across the table as an assistant GM with the Rays. So it was all three of us in a room together back in, when was that, 17? Yeah, no, 18, because I was traded like 2 weeks after that. So yeah, it was February in 18. So that was my first time actually getting to meet Zack. So we got to talk a little bit then and there. Obviously, it's kind of a busy, hectic day, but yeah, I mean, he's anything baseball, he doesn't forget. So we didn't even talk about being traded for each other. I think we were under the assumption of we kind of know that sort of thing. So yeah, it was a pretty cool way to like introduce each other, like get an introduction, but in an arbitration setting when like he got called out by the panel of people, like they're saying, they honored him, like just saying, hey, we're acknowledging that he's in the room, blah, blah, blah. It was really funny. Like he got his own introduction. He was just sitting there listening. And I think he said something to the effect of like, the media asked him about it too, after they had talked to me. And he said like, it was the most unexciting, uninteresting thing that he's ever been through or something like that, or surprisingly uneventful. I forget what the term was, but it was really funny. And I was like, man, it's exactly it. You just sit there for 4 hours and don't talk and just listen to people tell you how good or how bad you are. So, but yeah, I can't forget. I forget his exact quote, but it was funny.
So have you and Greinke had any good talks? Because I read an amazing column on him in The Athletic. They talked to like 15 of his former catchers and said they all said he is the most interesting player they've ever had as a teammate. Have you experienced any of the Greinke factor yet?
Not a ton, since I showed up late. We were around each other a little bit in spring training, but it's such a weird, like, he was on his own program. I was playing catch up. So I didn't really have a lot of time to sit and, chill and talk and just be kind of in the locker room setting quite yet. So there were certain things, like when they were talking baseball, they were talking about, what was it? I think we were talking about Dobnek's contract actually, and like getting his take, because he's very astute when it comes to contracts and like value and this, that. Like he's going to be a GM someday if he wants to, because he's like, his knowledge for off the field stuff with baseball is like, it's incredible. He knows top prospects, that sort of thing. And it's fun to just sit back and listen to him, because he's like, he'll say exactly what he's thinking, doesn't care if it's going to be, if you're going to get offended by it, whatever it may be, he's going to tell you how it is. And I love that about anybody, but especially him, because he does it like in such, like, it's not filtered. It's just boom, here it is. Here's straight to it. And I couldn't love that any more than what I do when I get to hear people talk like that. It's great.
So Jake, it was an interesting offseason for you. You had to wait patiently, which I imagine wasn't a lot of fun for you.
Yeah, that's putting it nicely.
Were there days where you woke up and it was very challenging, like where you would talk to your wife and you'd be like, this is really pissing me off?
Yeah, there was quite a few of those days, to be quite honest. Like I said it in my Houston presser too, is like I thanked her specifically, because like she was the one who kept me kind of in the positives a lot of the days, because it was, some of it's dark. Like, I mean, the longer it went, like the ups and downs, you just got pissed off. Like it was like, all right, I think something's going to happen today. I'm expecting a phone call today. So-and-so is going to make you an offer today. And it's just like, if it doesn't happen, or if it wasn't what you're thinking, whatever it is, like it just brings you down. Like there's so many emotions, like the ride of it is ridiculous. But yeah, she did a great job of like just keeping me focused and grounded, and like, what's meant to be is meant to be, but you just can't get, focused on this is the one thing and the one team, and like even if you wanted to go there, they might not want you, and that's that's okay, but we don't need to get pissed off about it and everything like that. Plus too, it helped like with my kids, like focusing on them having something other than baseball to focus on, which was nice because that like I felt like I was just living by my phone and dying by my phone, and I was just like over it, like they this is trying to think of a good way to put it delicately. Like, they've always talked about free agency being like the light at the end of the tunnel, the rainbow, pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, all those stupid analogies. That like my time in free agency this year was like my single most frustrating time I've ever had in baseball, which is depressing when it comes down to it, because you're like, oh, I made it finally. I mean, I made it the year before. I did the qualifying offer thing. I get it. But like, this is the first time I felt like I was unrestricted because I didn't have that thing attached to me anymore. So really excited going into it. Obviously the year sucked, but still it was like, it was almost like a letdown, because you're just so excited. You want things to happen at certain points. You think you're going to be a member of a certain team, and then it falls through or whatever it may be. And it's like, all right, now what? And then it's March and you're like, all right, I'm still sitting at the house. Like, what the hell is going on right now? Like, am I missing something? Am I a lot worse than what people actually, do people think I'm a lot worse than I actually am? Like, why, what is there's just so many things that go through your head. There's some dark days, and, early on, like I thought I was going to be a member of a certain team, and then some people took over that team. They pretty much hated me. So it didn't fall through. And it was Trevor's team, but it it is what it is. And that was it was an interesting thing, man. So it's a weird one.
Oh, baseball.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we were
talking. Did you know that,
like,
Trevor?
I did not know that. Not till right now. Did not know that.
Yeah,
so
we were talking a little bit. Yeah. It was before the hirings of their new people. So, and that's fine. Those are opinions. It is what it is. And then circle back.
I get that, Jake, but could you have, and this is big boy money we're talking about. This is real life shit. Could you have texted Trevor and been like, hey, like, I'm interested in playing for your team and we feel like there's interest? Or would you never do professional athletes not go over that bridge?
Nah, I mean, we do. Like I text Trevor. We talked to the Mets before he even signed there. And then I found out that he was signing there. So I texted him, and, we kind of had a talk, and it was really funny because I was happy for him. It was like, he was the first guy to really sign in the offseason, like right. A big contract. And obviously me being friends with him, it was great. And he's like, yeah, I'm on a plane right now, actually. Yeah. But, no, it was one of those things where, you get down the road far enough, it's like, all right, things might happen. And then obviously, a lot of weird, interesting things happened with that organization this offseason, good and bad. So, but that's just something, like, you have a lot of those kind of, not to that extreme of stories, but like certain teams you thought you might potentially be with. And then when it gets down to talking to, dollars and cents, and they're like, oh yeah, this is what we think. We're like, well, you were talking about this the entire time, and now you're going to say this. So it's like, it's free agency. It's the game. It's everything. It's, how cheap can I get somebody, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, it was a weird one. That's for sure. But, that's life. That's life in baseball, COVID times. And I think I saw every team trying to cite that when it came down to money. Like, what we can do to save money, we're going to do it. Like, they do it in normal times, but especially this year, like, oh, we didn't make any money this year, so we have to dock you guys because we didn't make any money. Like, okay, hey, well,
I know about that story, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you lived it too.
I know all about it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what can I do? Like, you hold no leverage in that situation. You just,
right.
The only leverage like you have, like, that I found, it was actually a good piece of, it was some intel from a former teammate of mine, Brad Miller. He's like, the biggest bullet you have as a free agent is the word no. And that's your only bullet. He's like, the word no can do so many things for you in free agency, because at the end of the day, you can say no to anything. And then it makes them show their true hand, whatever it may be. but no is the biggest powerful thing you can do in an off season. That's about your only tool, because, you can't reach into somebody's pocketbook and say, hey, grab a little extra money and I'll take it. That's we can't write our own checks or whatever cliche you want to go with of trying to get, market value of anything. But yeah, it was interesting, but trust me, I'm glad that it's over with now, and now I can focus on being a baseball player again.
All right, a couple more things I want to hit you with. So you end up signing with Houston. I mean, you know the deal down there. You face that lineup. Did you have to go, oh my God, all right, I'm signing with the Astros. I'm going to have some big boy discussions with guys who've been pulled through an investigation? Did you have to play that out in your mind? And then how did it play out?
So when I was about to sign there, I mean, that went through my head of, I'm not really too worried about getting booed. Or I think to the point of my situation of signing late and blah, blah, it was a little more public. I was kind of the last free agent to sign a big league deal. So it was kind of the knowledge of, hey, I wasn't there for that. So, hopefully it doesn't really get brought up to me, all that much. And I haven't really experienced anything because I haven't really been up here yet. But, I haven't had any conversations with anybody. Honestly, it was just about getting there and being part of the team as fast as I could, just because I only had 2 weeks left of spring training. But I imagine once I get to know some of these guys a little bit better and more on a personal level, I can have an honest conversation about that and have a good understanding. That's not something you do day one, come in and be like, hey, tell me about this, what, all the ins and outs. That's just not it. I think we all kind of know that as a player, as a person, whatever it may be. You're you have to get to know people and understand people, have them understand you, because at some point it's a conversation that I would like to have with, just for some understanding and some truth to it. It's not going to go any further than me and that person, whatever it may be, but it's just something that's, if it gets to that point, I'd like to have a little bit of a peek behind the curtain, just for some mental understanding. I'm not going to think any differently of anybody. It's a human thing. We all get it. It's been publicized. It's been punished. It's been everything. But if we reach that point, we reach that point. If not, I'm not going to press it with anything. It's one of those things that if it presents itself, then great. If not, I'm not going to push it. We're all here to win. We're all here to do one job. That happened 4 years ago now, I think. Was that how long it's been? 17?
Yeah, 2017.
Yeah, so 4 years ago now. A lot of those guys, we've had people come here. There's been a lot of turnover, decent turnover. I mean, that core is still here, but it didn't factor into my decision when I signed here. When I, trust me, when I say that, it was honestly a place where I have a lot of ex-teammates here. I have 6 or 7 guys that I've played with before. That's a nice comfort level for me. And truth be told, at the end of the day, it was my best free agent offer at any point in the offseason. So it was a no-brainer for me when it came down to it. So that, like I said, that didn't factor in my decision. But if we get to a point and there's a conversation, I'd be open to having it.
Very good. We are taping this on the day after news broke about Trevor Bauer and baseballs being confiscated by the league and looked at for a foreign substance and all that sort of stuff. Since I do have 2 pitchers, I want to start with you, Trevor May, on this. I read an article from Saris in The Athletic, who quoted a player development guy in the offseason saying that benefits of a foreign substance on a baseball are, quote, better than steroids. What are we looking at here?
I can't even begin to explain how ridiculous that statement is. I you know what? I totally get it, gripping the ball. I know what a day feels like when it's 72 degrees. You have the perfect amount of moisture on your hand, and the ball doesn't feel like it's been just sitting in baby powder for the last 3 days. How good that is, and how big of a difference it is. But the whole steroid thing, I mean, that was a recovery. That was playing every day. That was feeling like $1 million every morning when you woke up, which is definitely not the case anymore. And so it's just, I think this is just this might be a little bit of a hot take. I think that the obsession with talking about this currently feels very like people really like drama, and it's being turned in this gigantic issue when it's not a gigantic issue. It's like it's hard to really get into the nuts and bolts because there is a very explicit rule about foreign substances being used to quote unquote doctor a baseball. Now, what that means is just wildly shrouded in gray area. And like we have rosin, right? We have something that technically putting rosin on a baseball is putting something that's not already on it onto it. So that is a thing. I think there needs to be because everyone talks about who does what and how far is too far and whatever. I think we're better off finding some sort of standardization because it's just chasing guys down one at a time is not going to be a very effective way to handle something like this. But in terms of the benefits and myself, I don't have a ton of experience, but in terms of the benefits and anyone I've ever known who ever seen or played with that had used anything or prepped their hand or put sunscreen on or whatever it was, didn't have a drastic change in quote unquote stuff, right? They just didn't. I don't think the number increase is trying to get. Well, people say like having increased spin rate is like people taking steroids. No, increased spin rate doesn't inherently make you an insanely good pitcher. Spin rate is an indicator of how sharp a pitch might break or how well it might defy gravity for carry or just how well it does the movement that it does. But other than that, it's just that's the value of that number. So it's kind of a lot of stuff that isn't correlated the way that people think it is being thrown out there as if it's like this crazy thing, and it just isn't. It's a little eye rolly to me at times, just how big it's being made.
All right. Well, that same article, though, it said, quoted an unnamed coach with experience in several major league organizations saying, quote, almost everyone is using something, Jake. I mean, it is.
Including spit on your hand, including licking your fingers. It's the same exact thing. That's what people are trying to. They get that feeling of being able to grip a ball. Like, really.
So is this just baseball, Jake?
Everyone I've ever talked to.
Looking for something that's not there?
So, I think it's interesting that like this is the emphasis now, but like, what was it a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Like we were saying, like the balls have changed, and nothing ever really got put out there with that. And now we're focused on this. We're not going to, we're going to forget about how pretty much from 16 on the balls kept getting tighter and going further, and the composition of the balls didn't change, but the massive amounts of home runs that were being hit, and the what was it? The big league ball flies 50 feet further than the AAA ball, whatever it may be. Like we never got answers when it came to that, but yet everybody in the league knew something had changed. But what could we do about it? Like it's almost like one of those things. Yeah. Like there was nothing for players to do, but like from a stuff standpoint, like watch any game when the new ball gets thrown to a pitcher. What's the first thing that they do? They do this. Mm-hmm. To the ball. You're taking off the slickness of the ball because they're rubbed in Mississippi River mud. Yeah, exactly. So when those balls are rubbed, exactly, you don't know when they're rubbed. So if they sit for a while, they become very chalky and very slick. So every pitcher that gets it is trying to get that off. So from my standpoint, I would rather have an unrubbed ball than a rubbed up ball. So like maybe we stop rubbing up baseballs, see if that makes a big difference on stuff, because that's the problem is you get them and they got this chalkiness on it. You just take it and you wipe it off and then you go from there. So if that's your first move, why don't we eliminate that step and just quit putting mud on the balls and see what it does? But I think too, like how they do in Japan, like there's a tackiness on the ball just to give it a little grip out of the package. I don't know why like we couldn't translate that to over here, give it a try. Like we're so this is another soapbox statement as well too. We're so into trying new things now in Major League Baseball but yet we're against trying anything with the baseball or anything that we've been complaining about for years. But we'll try a guy on second base and extra innings. We'll try we'll try this, we'll try that, but we won't try anything like when it comes to a simple step of not rubbing up a baseball, or here we haven't exactly found something that would make a baseball feel better. But yet Japan has been doing this for how many years? Like, can we make a phone call? Can we make a joint
hey, you guys
joint agreement? Like, hey, can we partner together, whatever it may be, and everything like that. But it's just it's a very weird thing. And everybody, like every position player, like has pine tar in their glove because they don't want the ball to slip out. So you have infielders, you have outfielders, you have catchers, you have sticky spray. People use sticky spray on their gloves. Like, they don't want the ball flying. First basemen have it in their glove because they don't want to lose the ball on picks and whatever it may be. Like, the amount of people who could put a substance on the ball if it's being subjectively tested, like, I don't really understand how you could come to a full-on conclusion that it's just the pitcher doing it.
You could jam a guy and hit the pine tar on their bat, and now it's got a huge spot of pine tar on it. What if they're testing that one? And it's just like, oh, that one moved weird. What? It happened to me yesterday. I got a broken bat, got it back, and it was hit some pine tar, and it had a big spot of pine tar, and I threw it out because I'm like, I don't want to throw this. Like, just think about that this way. Everyone's trying to find a comfort level. You want to be on the mound. You want to feel comfortable. You're like, all right, we're mechanically, our shoes we need our shoes tied tight. We need everything. You're like, you don't want anything out of whack. Ball's the same way. So you're like, I want to be able to know that I can grip these laces and that when I throw the pitch I want to throw, it's going to go where I intend it to go. And the same thing when a hitter comes, you see guys with it caked as far as it can be on. There's guys that use a little bit. They just want to feel the bat in their hand like it's an extension of their body. We want the ball to feel like an extension of our body. And that is the goal. If that makes, like, why we rub the balls down, why we're always like adjusting in our hand or like digging it in or whatever. We're always just trying to get to where that sweet, where we're gripping, where our grip feels like it's supposed to. And that's the thing. And like in my head, when I think about those things, like why anyone does things, why I do all the stuff I do whenever I'm touching a ball, and I just grab it out of the ball and throw it, because they're going to be different. And like you said, when balls are rubbed up, and a lot of people don't know this, it's usually, it's the same guys for every team, and they're rubbing them up. They do it before the game, and it's usually put into a big bag, right, for the game. The balls at the bottom, as they dry, that chalkiness comes off a little bit, and the balls at the bottom get chalkier and chalkier and chalkier because it sifts to the bottom. So like when you're getting towards the bottom of a bag, you only use half a bag and use the bag again the next day, those might be more chalky. If you're in Arizona or if you're in Florida, those are two different places where there's 5% humidity and 90% humidity. The amount of moisture, like when it feels damp with that Mississippi mud, then it just feels like there's mud on it, or it feels like a cue ball. So like, there's just no way, and they do the humidor, I get that. There's just no way to make the balls feel standard because of nature. So,
well, and there also isn't a exact amount that they put on each ball. Like the rubbing application, there's a picture of baseballs that says not enough,
look like this,
not enough, perfect, too much, and you're supposed to aim for the middle. So like, there's no, each ball isn't like, you don't use the exact same amount on each ball. It's literally look at this picture and say, get to as close as this as you can. We realize there's going to be some over here and somewhere here, but we're shooting for in the middle. So like, the consistency is not there. Again, like something you would think would have been figured out by now of, all right, here's a machine that puts the exact same amount on each ball, and whatever there's a lot of things of chance in this game that can be solved. I would think relatively quickly, but we just haven't. Like, maybe we're looking too hard at it instead of just simplifying things.
Yeah.
Well, Jake, listen, you have been so gracious with your time. We do a little thing here called spinning the wheel of moderately interesting things, and I've changed a bunch of the topics. So we've got double play, job fair, get up here, e-tail, and paper trail. I'm going to give it a little spin. You guys will answer, and we'll get you on your way. Oh, God. I hit that.
Oh, God.
Oh, put it in the blooper reel. That's awesome.
There's no blooper reel.
Not yet. There isn't.
No such thing.
Oh,
I can't believe I just hit myself in the face.
That was awesome.
A moderately interesting thing. Nothing will be more moderately interesting than that, by the way. Better spin.
That was a good spin. We got
job fair. Okay. I want you to think of a job that you would be great at in a baseball stadium that has you out of uniform. So So something else in the stadium that you'd be like, yeah, that'd be kind of cool to do. Jake, what is it?
I would be one of the best clubhouse attendants you've ever seen.
Why?
Because I spent enough time shooting the shit with them during my time in Minnesota. So yeah, I've learned a lot from old Hot Rod McCormick up there and old Frank Hanslick. Yeah, I mean, me and Trev. I used to sit in there and just be. I think I got to the title of honorary clubby.
Nice, very good, Trev.
I don't know if I could do clubhouse. Too much crap to deal with. I would definitely be a great PR person. I could run the PR department, 100%.
Because you could say no. Sometimes they're great at that.
Yeah. Say no. I think I could bring lots of opportunities. Think outside the box to players. I think that's going to be something. I think that I'm going to have something to do with that post-playing career. Just helping guys figure out their niche, their marketing players. But yeah, I think I would do a good job, and I think I have a pretty good understanding of like why guys don't want to talk to media, when they do, when they don't, and finger on the pulse of that too. So I think I could do PR.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Jake, for being a great guest on the Chris Rose rotation. You will leave with a parting gift as well. So Don, tell him what he won. Jake, we know that sometimes it's tough to take out the trash in Houston. So during your season down there, the Rose rotation will send somebody by to pick up your trash every week. Enjoy that, courtesy of the Chris Rose rotation.
Free charge.
Can I just put like your photo on the trash chute here at my apartment building and just dump it down there? We'll call it even.
Yes, and put a big wide rose mouth, or maybe I'll send you a still of me hitting myself in the face of the wheel of modern.
Yeah, we can get a cutout from the stands like from last year. That was one of those big old face ones. We'll just cut a mouth hole in it. We'll put it right on the trash chute, right in there.
Jake, it was great visiting, man. Best of luck this season with the Houston Astros. We look forward to seeing you out there on the Major League mound soon. All right, man?
All right, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, and anytime you need me, you know where to find me.
All right, brother.
You got it, my man. Be well.
See you, Jake.
All right, we're going to wrap things up on the Chris Rose rotation with Trevor May of the New York Mets. Your homework assignment, Mrs. Rose does not have it on her desk. What transpired here?
So as you can imagine, we were supposed to start in Washington. I was supposed to go out and see the sites of historical Washington, and then the breakout happened, and instead of having any freedom, that freedom was then snatched from us. And they were like, hey, if you guys could just like not do or go anywhere and just look out your window. And my window faced into a roof, so I couldn't go anywhere, do anything, and I was just trying to avoid getting in trouble and just get past it. So it was just straight to the field, straight to the hotel room. It was a miserable road trip. It was a truly miserable road trip. Glad it's over. This time though, I'll crush it. What do you got for me?
If this had been 18 months ago and you said COVID prevented me from doing my homework assignment, that would have been right up there with the dog ate it. Yep. But now, because we have lived through all of this, and it is no joking matter over the last 14 months or so, Mrs. Rose says that is more than an acceptable answer.
Thank you, Mrs.
I will
Rose.
answer on her behalf. So now we're going to need you to dig into your archives. Your homework assignment is to, if you can, get video of you the first time you DJ'd, or the first time somebody took video of you DJing back in the day in the Pacific Northwest, and you can play it for us and break it down the next time we do this.
I got a very specific show I did that I think my wife has video of, so that'll be just phenomenal.
That is going to be great.
Okay,
that is going.
I can do that. I can do that. I can do.
I love it. Okay, well, listen. Let's keep throwing some bagels up there on the runs and hits column.
100%.
So that
that is the goal.
I want to feel at ease when I'm watching Trevor May.
We gotta
take deep breaths and
one day at a time, man. That's why we got a lot of young guys. We got a lot of dudes in that. I'm gonna be honest. The Mets clubhouse is one of the most. There's energy. There is so much energy, and everyone's so young and has so much energy. And it's so weird being the veteran guy who's like, hey, one game at a time, one inning, one at bat, one pitch. Like guys were throwing out, all right, what if our record's this through this? And then we can just do, I'm like, guys, one day at a time. Just come into the day. We need to come into this clubhouse every day, expecting to win that night, getting the job done, stringing stuff together, getting it over with, put that one away, move on to the next one, and stay there. Just do it forever. And that's how the best teams win, because we have the talent. I mean, the talent's off the charts. So, but yeah, it's so weird being that guy now.
Well, we want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to the Chris Rose Rotation. If you're joining us on our YouTube channel, give us the old thumbs up and leave a comment as well. And thank you to wherever you download your podcast. Keep subscribing and give Trevor 5 stars because he loves that.
Thank
and
you.
Hit him up on Twitter. He likes that too.
Yeah. Crash it.
And please thank your family, because I know you're doing this on your off day. So thank you for giving us an hour of your time.
I will. Thank you for working with me. I appreciate that.
It's always fun. Trevor May of the New York Mets. We will see you next time here on the Chris Rose Rotation, part of John Boy Media.